It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Monday, August 19th, your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content that is saying I told you so a little bit.
Yeah, everybody likes to do that.
You're Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. You can find me on Twitter at rmiriam. I'm here as always with Russ Cohen, who's on all your favorite social media apps at Sportsology. We are at Locked On Flyers on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Twitter as well. You can find our show over on YouTube. We're also on the Sirius XM app or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Subscribe to get our latest episode as soon as it's available. Here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I said I told you so in the intro there. Lo and behold, after we did a whole show about how important it is to have a rookie series and rookie prospect tournament games, on Friday, the Flyers announced that they are indeed having that series against the New York Rangers prospects again. It will be Friday and Saturday, September 13th and 14th in Allentown, where the Lehigh Valley Phantoms play.
Yeah, this is good news. We were talking about it. Maybe we pushed them over the edge and they
Who
decided to
knows?
do it.
I'd like to think
Maybe
so.
Right. Maybe they were just still not in the mood to give out a date because nobody had figured that out. Who knows? But we're happy that they're going to do it because I do think it's good and valuable and there's things to gain from it.
Yeah, I am really excited for rookie camp now. We're going to do a whole show on Wednesday about rookie camp and what we think the Flyers should do there structurally, and takeaways and key players there and everything. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, the Lehigh Valley Phantoms signed a few players officially. As the summer has gone, we've heard word that they were going to or had signed them, but they hadn't really talked about it much.
No.
And there's a couple really interesting ones here of the three, I would say. And I would say that the first one is Sam Sedley, who is, again, these are all AHL contracts, but they're important because these are all the guys that are around our top prospects, and we need to make sure they're supported. And Sam Sedley was a camp invite the last couple of years to the team. So the Flyers are super familiar with
Hmm.
him, an undrafted player. And he played in last year's rookie series
Yep. I
games.
remember him.
Yeah, for the Flyers. And obviously, he stood out enough to make them sign him to an AHL deal.
Yeah, I think he's a good guy to have. Certainly can move the puck, had good speed. There were some things to like. So as an AHL player, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's a defenseman, which, you can never have too many defensemen, as you
Nope.
always like to say. And so he's a little bit shorter. He's
Hmm.
5'10", but he is right-handed. So maybe that balances each other out a little bit there in, the list of qualities you want in some depth defensemen. But he played with Owen Sound in the
Hmm.
OHL for his junior career and was really successful there. And you could tell he's a puck mover and distributor
Yes.
based on those stats. Where like his last season in Owen Sound last year, he had 9 goals but 54 assists, and that says a lot about his playmaking.
It does. And again, we'll see now that he's turning pro what he could do. He's only 21, so hey, it's a good take a
Yeah.
chance on him.
Right. Now he's a negative 18 last year, so maybe
All
he's
right.
gotta work on some defensive skills, but I think for an AHL deal, doesn't matter,
No.
honestly. So, looking forward to seeing what he can do with the Phantoms, and maybe he can earn himself a two-way deal the following year. Xavier Bernard is another defenseman that they signed. He was a 4th-round pick by the Devils in 2018, and, he is 6'4", however,
Hmm.
and 24 years old. So he's a guy that's been around in pros for a couple of years now. he was with Drummondville in the queue for his junior hockey career, but played last year in the ECHL. I expect him to be borderline Phantoms Reading player and not really to see much of him.
No, that's what I think he'll be. I think he'll be more Reading than anything, and that's fine. You need guys
Yep,
there too.
absolutely. Now, here's where it gets interesting because we've talked about the goalie situation, and they officially signed Keith Petruzzelli, who is a really interesting prospect. 25 years old. He's played for the Marlies and Newfoundland in the ECHL. Newfoundland doesn't exist anymore, if I recall correctly.
Right.
But he was picked by the Red Wings in 2017, but really has played in the Leafs organization for most of his pro career. But he comes from a really strong pedigree in college at Quinnipiac, and I think that that's been really good experience for him.
Yeah, I saw him play at Quinnipiac. He was a big guy who was kind of skinny. He's a little more filled out now. I liked him back then. Now I think he's kind of like, maybe not even a backup, maybe just NHL depth at this point, but certainly can play a little bit. But as we have just seen tonight, Alexei Kolosov changed representation, so he's no
Mhm.
longer a part of the group that has other Flyers under it, which to me tells me he's going to try and get out of his contract. He's not expected to show up for camp. At least that's the word out there. It's not what the Flyers are
Right.
saying. This is what other people are saying. And I think that's a sign of that. So to get a Petruzzelli into the system is good, not because you hope he's a future Flyer, just so you get somebody else to play in Lehigh. Now, do I hope Petruzzelli outplays everybody? Yeah, I kind of do in a way, because I think they need to change that up. As I've said, I'm not thrilled with the way the goaltending situation, the way it sort of gets cut up there.
Yeah, and he's had 47 AHL games
Hmm.
thus far. He's went 22, 17, and 4, a 3.17 uh, goals against, 894 save percentage. So like not stellar, but
No,
I think, a change of scenery can always help somebody. And I think this is a good opportunity for him, to your point. And if he fights for it, that would be great because we already have Parker Gahagan back as the other Phantoms backup goaltender, and we have Cal Peterson as the top
who's just been
goaltender.
handed the job basically.
Yep. Yep. And he's the call-up guy for the Flyers at this point.
Yeah,
So if you have two guys kind of battling for that
that would
second
be
spot
good.
in Lehigh, it's good for both of those two guys. And it's good for Cal Peterson to have two guys fighting, like nipping at his heels a little bit.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not so worried about if it's good for Peterson or not. I mean, I just worry about other
No,
guys the Flyers could
I
have.
want him to be
Yeah,
motivated.
I would rather see somebody else do the job. He didn't exactly do it great last year. Anyhow, he's just a guy that's there because of his contract. So I would rather see other guys get a chance, to be honest.
Yeah, so I think of Gahagan and Petruzzelli, obviously one of the two is going to win the job and the other one is going to get sent down to Reading. Could be either of them, but we'll see, and that's part of what we'll see in camp, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully. I mean, Felix Sandstrom never got a chance last year, so we'll see if these guys actually get a
Yeah, but
chance.
Felix Sandstrom, that's a different situation.
Well,
It's almost worse with Sandstrom
no,
that
no,
they didn't give him his chance.
yeah. Well, we'll see how this shakes out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. But for I think to your point about, what the team is saying versus what other people are saying, like they are saying what's happening by the fact that they got Gahagan back and Petruzzelli
They're saying it
is
without
signed.
saying it, sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's really a big tell. But, switching representation for Kolosov is also a big tell. Again, to be continued. I think
So it's getting
everything
close
will
now
be,
because the KHL season
yeah.
starts in like 2 weeks.
Yep. Yep. So we'll know for sure, I think, by the first week of September, what is happening with all that. All right. We have some favorite Flyers prospects and some who made it to the NHL, some who didn't. And we are going to talk about some of those and do a little Where Are They Now coming up next. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. One of the things I love about Indeed is it makes hiring all in one place so easy because you can avoid all the busy work. I use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with those candidates faster. Indeed doesn't help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. They leverage over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day. Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/locked on. Just go to Indeed.com/locked on right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on Locked On Flyers. That's Indeed.com/locked on. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen of the day. For your second listen, enjoy the Locked On NHL podcast. Locked On NHL provides you with a national perspective on all things NHL each and every day with national experts and local insight on every team in the league. You can find me there each and every Friday. It's available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Russa, we'll have our mailbag on Wednesday in addition to talking about rookie camp. So get in those questions to us. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail. You can send us a message on Twitter or Threads or comment over on YouTube. So, Russ, we who pay attention to prospects pretty
Hmm.
closely sometimes get attached to some of these prospects that never
Not
quite
sometimes.
pan out.
I get attached to so
Okay, all
many
the
from so
time.
many all the time for so many different guys for so many different
Yeah,
teams. I watch them for a period of like a decade. It's just crazy.
yeah, and, sometimes when they don't pan out, for the Flyers at least, sometimes they go elsewhere and go on to do great things, but, like Patrick Sharp, let's say. But, I think that, we wanna check in on them and make sure
Mhm.
they're doing okay or see what they're up to and see where their hockey careers have taken them, and I think, for me, the number 1 player on that list is Oscar Lindblom. Now, I know he did find success with the Flyers for a little bit, and it was really tough, with the cancer diagnosis, and he came back and he did okay, but it was very clear that he needed another year of being fully healthy to get back into it. Flyers wind up buying him out. He plays a year at the Sharks, and now he's going back to Sweden um, with Brynäs, so where he started his career. So I think, while I'm really bummed out that the Flyers felt like they had to buy out his contract, I think if going home makes him happy, like more power to him. And I just everything in my bones. Like I have an Oscar Lindblom jersey, I have an Oscar Strong t-shirt. Like I just want him to be happy in this world, and that's all I'm asking for.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I mean, Amy and I made those Oscar Strong bracelets. Players on the team were
Yeah.
wearing them. Fans were wearing them. We wanted him to stay well, be well. He at least got to live out his NHL dream and at least got to make the comeback in Philly. And I think that's important. And hey, nobody's career is ever guaranteed for a long period of time, but at least he had one. He was a good rookie prospect. I remember him. I liked him. I thought he was a good
Mhm.
pick when they picked him. He had a good rise
Yeah.
to the team. He was a good young player, and so now he's still playing, and that's good. He loves hockey. He should still play. If he banked his money, he'll be okay for the rest of his life, uh, and and he can still sort of live out his dream because he's going to still play in Sweden, and I'm sure he loves doing it.
Yeah, I think so. Another player who I really liked when the Flyers drafted him. You obviously know a little bit more about him as far as what he was like in his draft year, but Samuel Dove McFalls, who was a fourth round pick in 2015. I think, he was a left winger. I just thought he had a lot of promise. He played in U Sports in Canada for his development years, but wound up, not getting signed by the Flyers, and then went off and tried his hand in the AHL in a couple of places, didn't quite work out, and now he's in Germany in the league there. He actually has dual citizenship of Canada and Germany. So,
Yeah, and
but
he's
what
doing
did you
okay in
see in
Toronto.
him?
Yeah, he wasn't a guy like I had on my draft list or called him a sleeper, but he was in camp. I appreciated the guy's effort and thought, maybe this guy could be a fourth liner. I remember he scored a few pretty good goals. He showed like at least the ability to have a decent shot, but and that certainly goes back to his days in the queue and like you said with U Sports, but it just it didn't materialize for him, and it was probably the skating that did him in more as much as anything. But he was just a good guy, and I sort of looked at the frame and said, maybe he could be a fourth liner or a depth guy, and he just didn't make it.
Yeah, it just bummed me out because I had high hopes for him. And your point about how he looked in camp was really good. And he just stood out to me as somebody
Oh, he
to keep
definitely
an
did.
eye on.
Yeah, he definitely did in camps, no question.
Yeah. And then another guy who, for me, it's because he was on the Calgary Hitmen. I love my Calgary
Oh
Hitmen,
yeah,
but Rell Fedorov, who was a sixth round pick by the Flyers in 2014, a forward. And I think, those late round picks are always, kind of a crapshoot in terms of potential and will they make it. But to me, like the Calgary Hitmen was like a great spot for him to play junior hockey. And, he played on, World Juniors teams for Russia when they were back when they were still allowed to
well, back
play.
when they did that.
When they did that, had some time with the Phantoms, but just never quite put it together to get to the NHL level.
Yeah, I mean, for his time, he was an okay skater, had a good shot. I liked his effort. He's another guy that would look really good in camp. I felt like, yeah, he just needs, little work. Maybe he could be a third line guy in a fill-in kind of capacity. I remember I liked his personality. I thought he tried really hard, and it just didn't sort of
Hmm.
work out. But the World Juniors is when I first noticed him and said, there's
Yeah.
going to be something there with this guy. And he did have a pro career, and he's still playing pro hockey. So at least he's getting to do that. But sometimes it just doesn't get all put all together with these guys. I mean, the Flyers certainly gave him enough shot. He played a couple of seasons with the Phantoms, almost two full ones. So and then he went
Yep.
back overseas after, the middle of the third one, so or early in the third one, and, that's what happens sometimes, but I just felt like when I would see him, I would be like, I want some more, but there's something there, and it just that's what happens with some guys, it just never materializes for them.
Yeah, and you look at his last year with Calgary where he had 19 goals, 52 assists for 71 points, and you're like, "Ah, there has to be something to it, right?"
Yeah, yeah, I
And
remember I
then it
remember watching him after the
yeah,
World Juniors and saying, "Boy, this is a great year in Calgary," and, he did turn pro that next season, so
right, and, unfortunately, he didn't really, like, play in the KHL either. He's been, like,
no.
a VHL player. He's played a little bit in other places in Eastern Europe, but he will be playing for a club in Belarus next year. So, still playing, really happy to see that for him, and, hope that he continues to get to
Yeah,
play
go
pro hockey.
Yeah, play as long as you can. I mean, he's only what is he, 27? What I see his age,
28.
28. Yeah, keep playing, man. Have fun. Hockey's fun.
Yeah, it is, that is They should put that on a bumper sticker or something. Hockey
I
is
like it.
fun. All right. It is Monday, so we have a new weekly poll, and we'll have our nemesis of the week, which is
Mm.
always a fun time for us. We're going to do that coming up next.
Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your parts is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers.
So we've been talking a little bit about, the rookie series prospects that we love that didn't pan out, but I think that that sort of leads us to our conversation about rookie camp coming up on Wednesday. So this week's poll question has to be related to that. So we're looking at which Flyers slash Phantoms prospect will have the most improved or standout season this year, because it's kind of do or die for some of these guys right
Hmm.
now. And, this is the year they have to make a statement that they belong in the NHL, or are the top of the Phantoms list and they deserve a call up. So we picked 5 players that we need to see improvement or standing out, because there may not be let's give you a hint as to who one of them might be. There isn't data to
Right,
improve on, right?
right, right.
So our first guy is Massimo Rizzo. Again, we don't have pro data to go on, so he's in the standout category. As is Ivan Fedotov. We don't know like what he's going to look like after having a full off season in North America and all of that. So we're going to look for that. Our third player is Emil Andre, who we know struggled a little bit last season at the NHL level, but improved dramatically at the AHL level. Where is he going to
Hmm.
be this year? Alexis Gendron, who we've talked about a lot this season, and how he struggled and got sent back to the queue. So I think that's a good player to look at. And then, of course, Samu Tuamala, who I could not need him to come through this year more.
Yeah, it's a big year for him. He needs to do something.
So
Big year.
do you have any of these guys in mind as your top guy that
I
needs to
do.
make the most improvement or stand out?
I do.
Yeah,
We'll
I
see
do
how that
too.
works out.
Yeah, I know. I want to see what the listeners have to say. We will talk about those results on Friday. The link to the poll is in the show notes and it's on our YouTube channel, so you can check it out there. Moving over to our nemesis of the week. Last week, we talked about getting realistic about Matvey Michkov projections as it relates to the Calder trophy. That it's fine to want things from him. It's fine to have expectations and you want him to score, but let's pump the brakes on the Calder conversation until we at least see a little bit of his play,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we need to see how that whole first road trip goes and a bunch of stuff.
So, with all of this discussion with the prospects and rookie camp, that brings me to my nemesis this week, which is realizing summer is almost over. I'm thinking it's getting dark a little bit earlier than it was, and it's starting to cool off at night, which is a good thing. Don't get me wrong. I don't like summer weather. I like winter weather better, but just summer, it's a little bit of a break, and you
Hmm.
get to maybe go on some vacations in the off season. And while I am so pumped for next season, I think it's going to be really fun. There's always like a twinge of oh, summer's almost over. So that's kind of where I am right now. But how about you?
Well, I'm almost in the same place because like August 14th was a really bad day. All of a sudden, pumpkin spice garbage started showing up on the
Ugh.
shelves again. And, someone sends me like a thing of Frosted Flakes, and it's like, really? Does anybody really like that? Or pumpkin spice white cream pretzel chips? Like, can these companies please wait until
I feel like I'm
September?
having deja vu here with this
It's
conversation
just it's
with you.
crazy. I mean, and what's funny
I
is
get it.
for as many people that like it, there are a lot of people that are just like, it is too early. It's like, if you want to do it with your coffee, fine, but don't start doing it with a million products on the shelves, because it's like, it is still summertime. We don't want to see these fall products, and I don't want to ever eat it anyhow. So that's where I'm at.
Well, then you should be excited to know that a few days ago, I went shopping with a friend at Spirit Halloween because those stores are open
Great.
now.
Those are open too now. So they've now
Yeah.
taken over all the spaces of places that have gone out of business and given them 2 months rent or 3 months rent, and then they vacated again. Fantastic.
Yep. That's how it goes. Do you have your nemesis of the week?
No, that my nemesis was the pumpkin spice. It was.
Okay,
I rolled into from yours, but I will also say that um it's okay to like Halloween. I don't dislike it, but it's like, it's one
that's
day. October 31st, it's one day, and some people just spend way too much time before and after on Halloween, and it's just like, I'll never fully understand it, but if you wanna have a good time, go have a good time, that's fine, but it's literally one day a year, and there are some people that spend months and months and months on this, preparation-wise and otherwise. It's a cottage industry now in the United States, it just is, but okay.
yeah. Like I don't usually like getting dressed up for Halloween or anything, but I do like to, absolutely pun intended. I like the spirit of Halloween.
Sure.
You know, I like the mood of it. I like,
Mhm.
decorating with the cobwebs and the skeletons and all of that. I think it's fun. I think it's sort of it's a anti-December holiday
Yes,
season in the sense that it's like it's something for everyone.
it
It's
is.
not just, and I think anybody can participate in Halloween, and I think that's
Right.
great.
So there's a couple
So,
days before
mhm,
Halloween, you can get your stuff set up, and you can enjoy Halloween and not leave up the cobwebs and stuff for the next 4 months when we all drive by and look at them and say, why
yeah.
is their stuff still up? Why are there still these blow up things on their lawns? But okay.
All right, that is duly noted if I ever move in next door to you, Russ. All right, that will do it for today's show. Thanks so much for listening. We'll be back on Wednesday. We will have a mailbag as well, so make sure you get those questions in. You can let us know on Twitter at Locked On Flyers. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail or comment over on YouTube. I'm Rachel. I'm on Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology, SPORTSOLOGY.
Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen today. Now go check out the Locked On NHL podcast, where the season never ends, providing national expertise with a local perspective. You can find the link to Locked On NHL in the show notes, so you never need to search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.